Welcome back to the Evolution with Mac and Jenn podcast. We are so excited to be here today, right, Mac?
Yep.
Like always. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Yep.
I feel really excited.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Awesome. Well, what should we talk about?
I don't know. It seems like you got something to talk about.
Well, I feel like I always have like a lot to talk about, but then I never know what we want to talk about. But I was thinking um of this book here, and I just wanted to I felt like it might be fun to read this little passage, and then you can just tell me your thoughts on it because I just love your thoughts about
We
everything.
can dig through it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sounds good.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
See where it leads us.
All right. So, well, the reason I really love I want to read this, and the reason I love it is because I feel like um we live our lives like this. I'll just read it. Okay, so this is actually from the book As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Have you ever read this book?
I can't remember.
It's a good one. Okay. A man does not come to the almshouse or the jail by the tyranny of fate or circumstance, but by the pathway of groveling thoughts and base desires. You might have to
Translate.
well, you might have to just really listen. Okay, a man does not come to the almshouse by the jail or the tyranny of fate or circumstance, but by the pathway of groveling thoughts and base desires. Nor does a pure-minded man fall suddenly into crime by stress or any mere external force. The criminal thought had long been secretly fostered in the heart, and the hour of opportunity revealed its gathered power. Circumstance does not make the man, it reveals him to himself. No such conditions can exist as descending into vice and its attendant sufferings apart from vicious inclinations, or ascending into virtue and its pure happiness without the continued cultivation of virtuous aspirations. And man, therefore, as the Lord and master of thought, is the maker of himself, the shaper and the author of environment. Even at birth, the soul comes to its own, and through every step of its earthly pilgrimage, it attracts those combinations of conditions which reveal itself, which are the reflections of its own purity and impurity, its strength and weakness. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. Their whims, fancies, and ambitions are thwarted at every step, but their inmost thoughts and desires are fed with their own food, be it foul or clean.
Let me see that. So I think first we need to kind of break it down. Like it says, a man does not come to the almshouse. What is the almshouse?
I don't know.
You don't know what an almshouse is? I don't know exactly what it is, but let's see what Google has to say about it. Actually, we could just use the AI. Let's do this. Hey, what is an almshouse? As referred to in the Bible or and in the book, As a Man Thinketh, it talks about an almshouse. It's spelled ALMSHOUSE. What is the reference?
The term almshouse refers to a place traditionally provided for the poor or those in need, often funded by charity. It symbolizes a state of poverty or hardship, which aligns with the book's exploration of how thoughts shape one's circumstance. James Allen uses metaphor like the almshouse.
A man does not come to the almshouse or the jail by the tyranny of fate or circumstance. So basically, it's saying a man doesn't go into like
Hard times.
hard times by by fate or circumstance. Like there's a power stronger than that.
Well, I don't know that it's stronger than that. Is that what it's saying? Or, I mean, I don't know the context, but I think he's referring to if you wind up there, you've put yourself there.
Yes.
Basically, it's okay.
That's what I mean by like there's a stronger power behind circumstance.
You've allowed yourself to be influenced, whatever, to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's kind of what he's referencing here. And then no such conditions exist as descendants into vice and its attendant suffering apart from vicious inclinations or ascending into virtue and its pure happiness without the continued cultivation of various aspirations. So, I mean, this is all about influence, basically. Is that what you saw in this as well?
Well, influence?
Well, you said that we kind of live in this way, right?
Well, I like it says circumstance does not make the man, it reveals him to himself. So it's basically like your circumstance reveals you to yourself because because it's your thoughts that are creating the circumstance, not the circumstance that, does that make sense?
Yeah. So the way you're looking at it is basically the truth behind, if you look at your current results, it's not because of fate, it's because of how you've been living or allowing or been influenced by the people around you, what you've let in.
Yes.
Yeah. So and that's basically the whole topic, right?
Yes. And what I love so much about like that is that when you come to the realization that you have the power to like create the mess, you also have the power to fix it.
Right.
Yes. And it's so what I see like the whole passage is all about personal responsibility.
Yep.
And and it shows that we have all the how much power we have. Like we have all the power to create.
Yep.
Yes. That's what I love about it.
So what do you want me to talk about?
I don't know. I just wanted to hear your thoughts. I don't know.
I mean, we've definitely talked about things like this before. We teach on it. We teach on personal responsibility. We're 100% in the zone of holding our clients capable, right? Holding our kids capable, holding other people around us capable, and to truly understand kind of what it is, you have to understand what that passage says. And that is very much so that if you think your situation is because of someone else, it's not. It is 100% because of you. Now, there will be things that come out of life that will test you, but your ability to move through them or see them negative or positive is completely dependent on you. You could have massive destruction and you could feel like a victim that somebody else did it to you, in which case you are not following anything that is said. You're not following anything. You're being a victim, right? Plain and simple. There was a conversation that I just had with somebody who was that, where I think okay, I remember who it was, but it goes back, I think, about 4 years, where we're going through looking at different things. Well, this happened and then this happened. I wound up homeless, or I lost this relationship and then I wound up homeless and then I was struggling and going through all this crazy stuff and I just don't want to go back to that place. So the focus became about avoiding pain, which means, what are you thinking about? Pain. Which, what are you more likely to attract? Pain. And the truth of the matter was, in which this is where it kind of flipped the conversation, was going back far enough that said, well, at this point I said I wanted something different. And then all of a sudden I'm forced into difference. And when it was reframed to see that, like, look, this is what you said you wanted back then, and now look at where you are today. You are in that place of getting what you wanted, but you've been fighting it the whole time, which means that's slowed down the entire process. And so there's this positive side that says, hey, personal responsibility means you can change anything and take it to your advantage. There's this negative side that says, the victim side, which he's not referring to, he's basically telling the victim to say, if you find yourself in a circumstance, it is because of what you've allowed in, whether it's the thinking, the whatever, blah blah blah.
I just love what you said about how when we ask for something,
Mhm.
and typically when we ask for something, the universe starts rearranging itself to give us what we want. But what slows down the process is we fight it.
Mhm.
Because and we fight it because I think a lot of times for us to get what we want, oftentimes it comes delivered to us in a way that we don't want, right? Because,
Absolutely.
and I always say that like God doesn't read the fine print. So it's like when we pray for something or we ask for something, the fine print would be like how we want it delivered to us. So it's like if I pray for an amazing relationship, the fine print is, well, it must be delivered to me with this person in this way, by this way, at this time, and just exactly like this. That's the fine print. But oftentimes God here might hear like, you want an amazing relationship. Well, the truth is like perhaps what you want won't happen with the person that you're with. So things have to be rearranged, and sometimes it feels hard or um, it's not coming exactly how you want it to come. So you resist it, which slows down the process,
Mhm.
and you fight it because it hurts. But sometimes that's what it always that is what's taking you to where you ultimately want to go. It just doesn't always look how you want it to look,
Yeah, it's like
right?
there's a saying that says, in the middle of a surgery, it looks like murder,
Mm.
but the outcome is that you're better afterwards, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you got to kind of cut things up and it looks like a murder, and then it's like, wait a minute, this is perfect. And so there's that. It's a little bit challenging to understand this because sometimes we'll get in our own heads and we'll think, well, oh no, shit just hit the fan. What was I thinking about? So if you're taking personal responsibility, saying like I'm a manifester, I create things, whatever, and it's like all of a sudden disaster happens, you're like, oh no, what did I let in? Because based on what I'm being taught here, which I believe is true, means if something bad happens and I wind up in poverty or jail, it must be because I allowed this stuff to happen. Well, I've never met anybody that actually stayed at a level of poverty that thought right, but I have met people that have been reduced to zero. In fact, I've been there where for a few days it was a poverty level, but I wasn't ever in poverty. I was never a beggar. A few times I had to pick up the phone and actually kind of beg, but ask for money to say, hey, I'm in a situation, I need help. This is how I can take care of it. Once it's like, I need this now, I will do this for you if you do this for me. And so I made a negotiation in exchange. But I never really was in poverty. Now, if you looked at my bank account, you might have said I was, or this or that, but I never felt like I was. I was just in a challenging circumstance that said, I will get through this. And during that time, there wasn't something where I was like, oh, I let this come in. Now, there were things that prior to this that kind of came down to the point of like, this is why it happened. And I can go back to time saying, at this point, I had this thought that I should have done this thing and I didn't do that thing. I probably should have done that thing. Right. But I'm not going to regret where I'm at. I'm just going to know that this was part of the process. And if that thought ever crosses my mind again, you'd better do something about it.
It's really hard to like when you're in the moment or like to be in the moment and say to yourself like I created this,
Mm,
right? But the most empowering part is when you're in that moment and you start looking for solutions on how to create the change.
mm. Accept it and move.
Yes, I like that. Mm-hmm.
So there's this big difference in somebody that, well, I can reference hundreds of people. They come across my path and they want to tell me their story. And it's the same story they've told everybody else. And all you hear about is their problems, what's wrong, this, that. I'm not talking about the stories of like inspiration or a good story or whatever, because I like telling stories. But if somebody's coming across, oh, well, like well, this is a problem and I'm trying to do this and it's just like problem after problem after problem, you're going to create more of that same thing. And that's what he's talking about. You don't wind up where you're at in that place of being the victim without allowing that stuff to take hold and put a foundation in your mind. And once that foundation is in your mind, then you start to complain. Then when you're complaining and worrying and all like Ed Foreman would always say, worrying is negative goal setting. And I think he probably got that from one of his peers too. So, but
Worrying is negative goal
yeah,
setting.
worrying is negative goal setting. So every time you find yourself worrying about something that's going on, what you're not doing right, or if this is going to happen or that's going to happen, you have to realize that in that moment right there, you are practicing negative goal setting. Just like dream building would be positive goal setting, thinking about what you want, meditating, visualizing, that's positive goal setting.
I always say that worry is low level love.
Yeah.
And because like for example, like my dad loves to worry about me and he's always like projecting his fears onto me. And I tell him like I think that rather than worry, it's better to instead send love to people. Like I'm not going to sit and worry, but I'm going to sit and like just pray for them or send them love.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so it's because it's like like whatever you're thinking about, like you're manifesting. So if my dad is sitting in worry and like he's gonna be manifesting things, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
You probably explain it better, but
yeah, there's and inevitably somebody will come up and say, well, yeah, but you expect me to just leave the door open to my house and not worry about my child walking out into the street? It's like, well, no, worrying has its place, but perpetual worrying is just you not being in effect functionally like your functional ability to think about the positive or the what if it's good, what if this happens, right? You're thinking what if the worst happens, and you could be thinking, well, what if it was this and it was the best that could happen. So you need both sides of it. And also, if you're worried about something, like, oh no, I'm worried that I'm not prepared for this job interview, or oh no, I'm worried about this relationship, or I'm worried about this thing, then freaking do something about it. And well, I could worry about today. Well, like, what's something I could worry about today? I could worry about um that I get a flat tire. Like, now, if I continue to worry about that and think about it, it's just going to stress me out. There's no point to it. Okay, so what if that happens
or like
today?
I can worry that you're gonna leave me.
That would let me go into that one next. Okay, so let me finish this thought. So the reality is, if I worried about getting a flat tire or something, I would just be like, well, maybe you should go check and make sure there's no reason why you would get a flat tire. Okay, go do that. But I'm still worried about getting a flat tire because maybe my tires don't look as good as they should. Okay, well, what happens if you do? Well, I guess I'll just have to figure it out. Okay, so what would you do? Well, I'd probably do this. I'd do this. Okay, so are you still worried about it? Well, I have concerns about it, but I mean, I guess if it happens, it happens. So now I have no more worry. I've assessed it. I've decided whether I can or can't do something about it. If I can, I do it. If I can't do it till tomorrow, I'll just schedule it. When I could do something about it. But you just take care of the worry, because it like a worry is there for a reason, unless you're a perpetual worrier, which is, like you said, low level love, because all you're doing is you're sedating rather than putting the effort to think about the positive things, to change your mindset into thinking about what it could be so that you can actually have progress moving forward. You're being lazy as fuck, and you're just getting caught up in the worry and acting like you're fucking important. And I'm being aggressive about that because you need to know the difference, that when you come to our table with worries, we're going to slap you upside the face and be like, no, we don't play that game here. We want you to advance, and you can't stay there and advance. So either you're not a fit, or you have to change to get a different result, which is just the truth. So going to what you said, worry that I'm going to leave you. Well, first thing is that ask yourself, is that true?
That you're gonna leave me?
You know, like if that was a worry, let's just figure out like, is there any truth behind that?
I'm not worried about you
No,
leaving
no,
me.
like
Oh.
hypothetically, let's give somebody a metaphor, well, not a metaphor, but like a role play on
Okay,
what
sure.
somebody might think about that.
Okay, yeah, I'm worried you're gonna leave me.
Okay, so you're worried. Is there anything that shows you that that could be true?
Yes.
What? Make something up.
You don't text me back right away when I text you.
Okay, so that would determine that means I apparently I would like I'm gonna guess not interested. I'm leaving.
Yeah, that means that you're like that you think I'm annoying and you're putting your energy elsewhere.
Okay. And so it's great. It's a great example because this is like very common with a lot of women,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Right. Oh no, I don't get
Like,
a
why isn't he
response.
texting
Like,
me
what's going
back?
on?
He's not texting me back. He's not calling me. What?
Yeah.
Like,
So there's a couple things there. One is it's a complete lack of emotional integrity to be able to just be okay with like yourself by yourself and it's everything's good. So well, it's like way more than two things, honestly. There's a self-worth issue. There's, you know, like a assuming that there's all these things happening in the world that is like outside your control and now you're worrying to try to control it. And as a woman, you should never be trying to control it. You should just be loving yourself and loving everything about you. And so when that worry comes in, you kind of got to start asking the question, well, does that actually mean that he's going to leave? Like, if he doesn't text me back till tomorrow, does that mean that he's like not doing anything? And someone would say, well, yeah, it would have to mean that because why else? Well, because he's a man and he's probably busy. Hopefully, I mean, I hope you're not pursuing a guy that just has so much fucking time on his hands that he can sit there and stare at your text and ignore you.
I think often, like times when we are sitting and worry, then that's when we are like our attachment style comes through
Mm-hmm.
and we start either showing up more anxious or just more like withdrawn, which actually manifests our fear,
Mm-hmm. And
right?
yeah, you'll attachment style is a whole nother thing that you're gonna have to talk about a different day. So
So the way to calm the nervous system and let go of that worry is to do exactly what you're saying to do.
well, I would actually suggest that they do a bunch of what you've told them to do, like in you've gone through most of this stuff in the membership under the Empowered Women course, right?
Hmm.
And that is those are things like knowing exactly what you want, having a dream, like a dream written thing on your, what do you call it, your vision or whatever, I can't think of the words right now, your book, your 20 pages of,
Oh, my relationship vision?
yeah, you're like having a relationship vision, right?
Hmm.
Because when you have a relationship vision and you're moving forward, and then you've got the better questions, like you show them how to do, like how does this, you know, like does this feel like this? And you're so clear on what you want and everything else. Even if you get a little worried, you can go back and it's like the math book problem solver, right? Like where's the cheat code? It's like, oh, here's the cheat code. I'm just going to go here. Does it feel like this if I just set the worry aside for a minute? Do I still feel this from the overall part of the relationship? And it's like, yes, I do, but I'm worried. Well, I'm just worried because I'm a woman and I'm emotional and I'm wondering what's going on. And so my mind wants to go to worry, but it's okay. And so based on the effort that you put in to do all these things like you've shown them how to do, then if they have that tool there, the worry won't come in because where are they existing? Like look at the passage again in the book where he says, you don't wind up here by mistake. If you let your mind go there and exist in the crazy of the world and everything else, then that's where you're going to go. But if you've put the effort into the positive equally as much or more, then where is your mind going to go? And therefore, you're going to land not in a poverty style relationship, but in a prominent or a prosperity relationship. So that's where the work comes in. And naturally, our subconscious minds do not operate from the place of trying to say, well, what's the most positive situation I could get into? That's not how it's built. The natural animalistic instinct, biological, genetic instinct that we have in the subconscious mind is to protect us. It will protect us emotionally, it'll protect our bloodline, right? Like on the most basic instinctual level, it's trying to protect the bloodline. And so, in protection of the bloodline, it also means that you need to be emotionally sound. So, if it needs to take you into a masculine frame as a woman, into a masculine frame to protect yourself so that you can get this done, to get that done, and then you control the situation, and then basically at some point you're going to have a kid so that you can protect that bloodline, which is all messed up in our society right now. But that's the basic instinct, which is why most women are unhappy, is because they're being told a lot of different things that go directly against your most natural being, that then you bring in the spiritual or consciousness into the mix, and it's even more so geared towards the caretaker and all the other things. So knowing what all that is, having it pre-positioned in your mind, there's no room for poverty. There's no room for those destructive thoughts and everything else, because when they come in from the natural portions of the world, to say, your subconscious mind of saying, I'm here to protect you, so I'm going to find all the shit to worry about. But when you've already programmed it to say, I understand your worries, here's why we're not. And it's like, oh, okay, well, what's next? So you get to assess the situation, and a lot of it comes down to, oh, I had these weird feelings. Well, first, allow yourself to feel the feelings. That's not like, this is probably the most destructive thing that's happened in our society with women, especially, and men, honestly. That's just a different type of how it works, is the complete lack of that emotional integrity to feel your feelings and express them in a proper way. Right? That right there, you figure that shit out, you're going to be in the 0.1% of the world. Probably more like 0.0001% of the world, because even though we are experts at it, it's still a struggle at times to say, I have this crazy freaking thought, I don't even know what my emotions are, and I'm busy, and so I'm just going to put them aside. Well, you have emotions for a reason. Your emotional guidance system is a God-given gift that guides you through life when nothing else can be explained with certainty. And this is also why I base most of all of my stuff with a God foundation or Christ, or however, whatever you need to do. You could reduce it down to the simplistic, simplest way of saying that the universe is energy. Your being is connected to source, which is the universe, which God is the king of the universe, but we'll leave that aside for now. But let's just say we're talking universe, energy, simplistic like that. That resides inside your emotional part, right? So if you're wondering, I'm misguided on this because I'm so worried and everything else, yeah, because you're not connecting emotionally, because you're connecting to the subconscious up here. So now you're having a physical experience instead of a spiritual experience. So you have to allow yourself to feel the physical, let it in, let it feel, try to express it, go through it, feel it in your body, do all this crazy stuff. You're like, you guys are getting the gold right now, by the way, if you're missing it. And then you convert it to a spiritual experience that says, okay, universe, am I safe? Like, do I really need to worry about this? And like, slow it down enough, and you'll be like, is it true? And somewhere in there, by allowing the truth of the emotion to be felt, the anxiety will come down. And you might still have a question of like, I don't know, is it? Well, there's nothing I can do about it right now. So, and honestly, there's no reason why I should be believing that, to the best of my knowledge. Or maybe there is something where you're like, he did this. And then you have to kind of investigate that. Well, does that mean 100% of the time that he's doing da 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 da? Now if a guy says he will do something and then he ignores you once, we can give some grace. Does something out of character that you, and this gets real tricky, because when you're triggered, you will create a story around just about anything. Well, he said he would do this and he didn't. Yeah, but is that exactly what he said he would do? because what he said might have a different context than what you heard. So you really got to slow down enough to understand that there are these different things. But let's just say that this guy has said that he's only interested in you, and you catch a flirty text message with another woman, like an engaging, flirty message or conversation or something to that way. In which case, right then in that moment, if you're secure with yourself, you will address it, and you'll basically say, "Hey, I don't, what's going on," and slow it down and say, "Whatever's going on there, now I feel completely unsafe. I don't like it. You got my heart all messed up at this point. You get one shot to address this, to figure this out." And he might say, "Oh, well, yep, you're right. That was not exactly the most appropriate thing for me to do right now. Um, there's just someone that I had talked to before, and we were just, yeah, it was flirty. I apologize. Let me tell her we can't do this anymore." You know, and if he doesn't control the frame like that, like, it's okay to make mistakes once in a while, but if he doesn't control the frame like that, and if he's like, "Well, why are you getting offended? Like, it's not a big deal," and you don't fight him, you just go, remember, emotion. You express the emotion. "Okay, I'm not offended. I'm just fucking scared." And try to show him the vulnerability in it. Like, I'm just really, like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm messed up now. I really don't want to talk about it at this point. Right. So
Yeah.
if he doesn't, there's a fine line. If you truly show him the vulnerable pain that you just felt, and he might react a little bit, but if you just stay quiet, don't react, don't fight him, because if you start a battle, now you're going to give him a reason to say what he said. But if you just shut up and just let it sit for a minute, he'll either come back realizing what he did, or he will edge harder to say, "What are you getting pissed off about? What are you so insecure that da da da?" And he attacks. That's when I would just be like, "Move on."
Yeah, say it and express the feeling, be quiet. Don't say anything else, because what you're doing is you're giving it to him, and then you're going to stop and kind of see what he does with it.
Mhm.
And once you give it to him, you got to wait like 20 to 30 seconds
Or
before, because sometimes it, like, once you give it, it takes men a minute to hear it, process, and like in their brains they want to come up with the most perfect response, so it takes a minute. But if you don't wait and then you start speaking more and more and more, you're interrupting their thought process, and then they can't, like, then that's when they start to battle.
Well, even if it was a guy or a girl in the opposite position, if you kind of get caught doing something that you probably shouldn't know you're doing, now you feel guilty. So it's natural that the defense mechanism kicks in. What are you so worried about? Da, 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 and so if you just kind of express the vulnerable feeling about it, like, even if a woman did it, and you just kind of look at it and be like, "Okay, so I'm committed to you, you're committed to me, right? You're right. Okay. But yet you're flirting with another dude. Do you see where my problem is?"
Mm-hmm.
That's coming from a man, right? Like, "Do you see where my problem is?" And if she's like, "Well, I don't know what your problem is," blah, blah, blah. I said, "Well, your behavior is showing me what the problem is. So I'm going to give you some time to consider what just happened on whether or not I'm going to move forward in this relationship." Like, that is a masculine frame. From a feminine position, that happens, and the woman expresses vulnerably, "Okay, may I communicate something to you about what just happened?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" Just be like, "Well, I need to tell you how I feel right now because it's not good." "Okay, what's going on?" "Well, seeing you flirt like that after I've been told that you're in a relationship with me, no one else, seeing that is very unsafe." And this is when you, like, there should be almost like a quiver in your voice, some emotional coming out. I mean, it might even make you cry. I don't know. But it should be pain. Like, if you feel the pain, you're trying to express that pain, because no good man will hurt a vulnerable thing, animal, child, anything. It won't. It's instinctual. It's just like the lion that comes up on the like the little baby deer or whatever. It usually you've seen them like almost like lick them. It's like, oh, what the, yeah, it doesn't run. Like I can't chase it if it doesn't run. You know, like what am I supposed to do with this? It's kind of like that.
Mhm.
And so now he has to face that. And so then if he reacts to it because he's guilty, and you stay vulnerable, you don't go, oh fuck this, I'm out. You know, no, it's like, all right, so you're responding to me like I did something wrong, and what I'm feeling right now is anxiety, confused, sad, and hurt. Uh, and he's, well, why about it? All right, I'm gonna, I need to just go somewhere else for a minute, and you just go and get as far away from him as you can. Like he's gonna call apologizing, I guarantee it. And then then after that, if there's a second time, then that's when you're like, this doesn't feel safe. I'm gonna go somewhere where it's safe. You can go work on yourself and figure out what the difference is here. Like, but this isn't what I'm not gonna choose a relationship that I continually feel unsafe.
Mhm.
Now, or he can show up kind of like I said, where he's like, you know what? And I think I even did that once when we weren't together in a relationship, but we were dating, right?
Mhm.
And you walked up and I like shut my phone and closed it, and there was like another woman on the screen or something.
Mhm.
And you're like, what are you doing? I was like, fuck. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I was just scrolling through my phone and landed on the thing, and I was looking at it, and
It was
then
like a picture.
and you made me paranoid, and I closed it and reacted to it, and I said I probably shouldn't have been doing that. Like it was just kind of a habit. Like it was fucking embarrassing for me, and like, but it like I felt the pain that she felt when she saw not just the picture but my reaction to hiding it.
Yeah, my heart literally dropped in that like in
Yeah,
that moment.
yeah,
I was like,
and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, like it was stupid. But it was just a basic habit where I was just do, you know, and I was, and then you looked, and I did that, and I was like, fuck, if I don't own this right now, I'm done. And so then I had to bring it up, own it, and say, no, this is why I did it, what I did. I shouldn't have done the first thing, of looked, and especially after you saw, I shouldn't have tried to hide it, because that was just foolish.
and my first thought was like I felt my heart drop, and then I was like, this sucks because I'm gonna have to make like a hard decision.
Mhm.
Right? But the way that you handled it and like you owned it, you gave me certainty.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And so then I chose to trust what you were
Mhm.
telling me, and now like you're amazing. I don't think I've ever seen you do but yeah, like it was just great the way that it all worked out. And like I remember I didn't like super react. I was just like I think you could feel the energy in the
Yeah.
room.
I'm very aware, consciously aware of energy. And so like I knew what happened instantly, and most people don't. But there was only one option for me after that. It was like, just own it. Otherwise, this is going to be something that will haunt you forever,
Yes,
if we
and
were to even stay
well,
together.
we would have had to talk about it
Hmm.
eventually, because I committed to myself not to let things
Stack up.
stack
Yeah.
up.
And that would have
And
been one of those
it would
things.
have been a huge thing.
Yeah.
I would have seen it. I could have, been afraid to even have a conversation about it. I would have said, just turn my head away from it because I was just enjoying everything, right? So I would have stacked it. I would have put it here and I would have shoved it down.
And then worried and eventually been like, it's not worth the worrying, and walked away.
And then after that, had I done that, then every time I wouldn't have gotten a text right away from you, or every time, the I probably would have continued, like it would have festered,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And so um that's committing not to stack and having the,
And
conversations,
well, and
just
most
knowing, go ahead. Well, a lot of times, like when the energy shifts like that, I just like what we're really needing in the moment is certainty.
Mhm.
I just need to know like what I just saw and what's gonna happen
Which
because
means full exposure.
mm-hmm.
You expose all the shit, even if it's bad. It's better to expose the bad right then in the moment. Like let's say there was something behind it, and I was like, well, honestly, this is what's going through my head, and it's bad. She would still feel safer in that moment than just blowing it off.
Yeah,
because
because of the
because
truth.
yeah, and there's no anxiety to be had when you have the truth. Truth eliminates anxiety. The other side is practicing what we're talking about in here. You wouldn't let stuff sit and fester like that, even if I refuse to talk about it, but you had these worries and then the text and then you're worried and these things, you're like, no, this is too much going the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer going to participate. I'm going to move on and stay in the positive prosperity of a relationship.
Well, that's one of the things is when you are dating, like you have to pay attention to like how much certainty you're receiving the truth from the people that you're entertaining.
Mhm.
Because if you are, you know, there, the certainty that someone's giving you almost shows how into you they are. And so if they're hiding or lying or, you know, taking days to respond, like those kind of things, like um most of the times when we fight, we're fighting for certainty. And so you can see how into someone is by the certainty that they are giving you. And if you're not getting it, um, you might want to decide what you're gonna do, like move on to the next or let that person go or whatever. But it's like, but also just knowing that like anytime your energy does shift and something feels off, what you're seeking is certainty. And you can get the certainty in a healthy way because a lot of us will try to get it through anger or yelling or blaming or well you know and it's like instead of getting certainty un, in an unhealthy way, just have a conversation and get the certainty you're seeking like an adult.
Well, and that means communicate through your emotions,
Communicate.
not through your words.
Yeah, communicate with your emotions because if you're communicating through your words, oh, that's like seeking certainty in an unhealthy way.
Yeah, but
But if
and generally, or
go ahead.
generally, most of the women that I come across under any of these circumstances, in many different ways, they're way too quick to snap judgment and never ever go through the emotional experience. So if you haven't gone through and expressed the emotional experience that you actually had, this is the emotional integrity, then you're making a judgment and you're walking away from a relationship, then it's on you. It's your fault. No, not his, even no matter what he did outside of something abusive. But I've even heard women be like, oh, he's abusive. Based on what? Well, he said this, based on what? And you get the full context. It's like, well, you freaking created it. Like you did this and that, like shut up. Like you need to get back into your emotions. Like what did you actually feel? Well, da 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 da. No, no, no. Slow down.
Well,
What did
I
you feel?
think that's one of the biggest problems in relationships and why they end and why they don't even start sometimes. It's
Mhm.
just because like we're so full of
That
judgment
quick.
so quick.
Nope. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I don't want that.
you're
Or this
judging.
means that. Or
Yeah.
you're just full of judgment. And so I think the secret is to um, learn how to love people for who they are, like their soul, and stop judging their humanness.
Yeah. There's a rule that I have when it comes to sales, and it applies to everything, but it's simpler to speak about it in sales. It's if I don't know why someone isn't buying, then I didn't do my job. In other words, they don't have the money. Like they've shown me their practically shown me their bank account. And they genuinely don't have the money, or they don't love it, and they don't want it. Okay, perfect. It's not a good fit for you. But for somebody to come in and look at something like I've sold a bunch of cars. Somebody looks at a car and they come back and I'm like, well, what'd you think? Oh, well, I'm looking. Oh, what are you looking for? And they're like, oh, well, I'm not sure yet. Okay, well, what's your budget? Oh, I'm not sure. Okay, so you're just, out there dream building, or are you actually ready to buy a car? I'm just curious because I know where there's a bunch of cars and it might be a perfect fit. I just need to know your situation so that we can figure out what's best for you. And most salesmen will not speak to people. And eventually, like, people will start talking and engaging because I'm fully engaging them. And then they start telling me the truth. Well, da 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 da. And then I get their whole life story. I got to listen to a bunch of BS and whatever. But I guarantee you, by the time they leave, I know why they didn't buy from me or why they're going to buy from me. And most of the time, that's why I make sales, is because I solve the problem that they're facing. And when I solve the problem that they're facing, now they're buying. And if they're not looking for something I have, I give them the most information I can on, okay, this is what you got to watch for that vehicle if that's what you're looking for, or those are good vehicles, those are not. Stay away from them. Here's the best option. This guy over here might have it. Like, I help them no matter what. So when it comes to a relationship, if you're bailing on a relationship or you're making an assumption on a relationship and you haven't gone through the digging to figure out who that person is, think about it. Most guys that get online that are actually good men, how good do you think they are at being online? If they're really a good men, like the kind of men you want to take home and show the parents and everything else, they probably suck at being online. So if you think that how they showed up in a text message on a dating site is messed up or messy, good. That's probably appropriate for their capacity to be conversational in a text message. Their first introduction to you or their first anything, like, well, if you're a high level woman, they probably should be a little bit nervous and acting a little bit weird. And that's going to be a good thing. So don't make assumptions until you've actually reduced the level of stress in the conversation, had a little fun with it. Yes, there should be some spark. There should be a little this. There should be some confusion. There should be these different things. But if you make snap judgments, oh, that he didn't ride in on a white horse and he's not a prince of the fucking kingdom, and like, so screw him, I'm done, I'm moving on. And then some other liar is going to present you the perfect show, and then you wonder why you get hurt. So don't make assumptions. Be willing to show your emotions, and you will find that knight in shining armor or whatever, but it won't be on the outside. It'll be on the inside. So just in order to see those things, in order to keep your composure, in order to know what emotional integrity is, that's the stuff that, as for a woman anyway, you're going to find in the back off in the member library under empowered women. Like, you've been teaching them that for months at this point. And let alone when we talk about it in the membership, we talked about it several times on this podcast. We've gone through a massive amount of stuff. If you're a guy, it's a little quicker, but that's where I come into play. There's things you have to change, but there's things you need to listen to about from a woman's perspective so that you understand. If you're dealing with money, you got to put your mind in the right place. Your average income will be that of your 5 best friends. So if you're influenced, if all your friends are broke, what do you think the problem is? You change your friends, right? Get rid of them. And you can still be friendly with them, but they become what you call left-hand people, not right-hand people.
You
So
listen.
I'm always listening. So if you're getting caught up in politics and it's making you angry, you have a problem. If you're too focused on the problem or the worry, no matter what it is, financial, health, this, that, whatever, then you're the problem. I've heard a lot of people like take something to their spouse. Oh no, did you see this is what's happening? Everything else. Then the spouse is like, okay, so what do you want to do about it? Well, well, I don't know. Well, I don't have the space to fucking listen to this shit. You're putting negativity in my mind. I can't do anything. Oh, so you don't care? No, it's not that I don't care. It's just that I don't believe I can do anything about it. I'm going to put my mind where I can do something. I'm going to put it in prosperity so that someday I can do something about that problem and not get caught up in all the freaking problems. I mean, I literally quit watching TV series because, or a lot of them, because of this factor, that the influence of what's happening in my mind was getting into like drama and just darkness. And I was like, no, I'm done.
Which is why I have to leave certain Facebook groups sometimes.
Too much drama, not enough solution. Or
there's like 2 more that I'm in right now that I'm just like, ugh,
got to get out of.
I think so.
There, if you're in any groups, friendships, or anything else, one thing to look for that will quantify whether you should be there or not is just a simple idea of, now I'm going to lose the word. It's like where you're going. All right, possibility. That's what I'm looking for. What is that group, or where is that group leading you in possibility? Because if there's not a positive possibility, then why be in it? Why associate with it? Like, because we want to be around people that have the possibility of wealth, or a possibility of a great relationship, or a possibility of great health, or a possibility of self-worth and God and all these abundant type good feelings that we have of, that's, I mean, why do a lot of people like a good chick flick? Because it leaves possibility. I mean, that like sums up a chick flick right there, because of the possibility, and it's a good one, not a bad one, right? And then other people like drama, because where are their mind going? That subconscious is ruling their physical. So they attach to the dramatic because it heightens the emotion that they're trying to repress, and emotion is addictive. So you need to get it negatively or positively. Take your choice. But ultimately, in all these things, there's this one point I want to make. Nothing really even comes close to I'm 43 years old. I've been through ups and downs, different relationships, business failures, business successes, body up, down, feeling like I was going to die, to rocking, whatever, all these different things. There's only one thing that gave me absolute certainty, that really defined where I stand. Do I need to worry or not? And that's when I just hand it off to God, give it to Jesus or whatever. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want. I'm really worried about this thing. Okay, give it to him. Is there anything I need to do about this right now? Something's on my mind. Well, I know this isn't about God. This is about me needing to do something. I'm just going to go do it. I'm not going to ask God to take care of something that I can do. He made me capable, and he wants me to do what I can do. So I'm going to do that first. But if there's something where I'm like, I don't know, I just genuinely don't know. And maybe it's too much for me to even handle the thought of, I'm just going to turn it over. I'm just going to say, hey, I need you to handle this for right now. And I'm going to go relax. I'm going to go watch a good movie. I'm going to go put something positive in my head, or I'm going to go work my butt off to distract myself from it, because that's what I need right now. But I'm going to hand it to you. So please solve this problem for me. Whatever comes of it, great. So in my previous marriage, when I was like, this is what I want, I'm going to hand it to you, I hand it to him. Destruction. Great. Praise God. Now, it's shitty to go through. It's horrible. It's depressing and all that other shit. But never in my mind did I doubt that I was on the right path, because I already gave it to him. So my faith is absolute. Like, I don't need to question it. I did everything I could. I was working on myself. I was having conversations, and I handed it to him, and it went away. I got nothing to worry about. I just got to go. I just got to heal and figure out, kind of remove the BS, and go through the healing and all the different things that he takes care of anyway. So that's where, oh no, she's not texting me. Do I need to worry? Well, no. Am I going to worry? Yeah, maybe. Well, something going on, and then all this stuff will run through your head or something. Like if she's driving somewhere and I'm trying to get a hold of her and she's not getting a hold of me, I'm like, I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of worry, but can I do anything about it? No, I can't do anything about it. Now, if I don't hear something in probably 2 to 3 hours, I'm probably going to start packing my car. I may not be ready to leave yet, but I'm going to be saying, I'm going to give her a little more time, but I'm going to be ready to go just in case. Like that kind of a worry, right? So um, there's different worries that are going to happen, but ultimately, if it's kind of like out of my hands, I just give it to him. Hey, whatever the outcome is going to be is what it's supposed to be. It's yours. I'll trust it. Whatever happens from here. So if she calls me up, we're done. See ya. I'll be like, that's gonna fuck me up, but okay. Like if I turn it over with that absolute type of faith, now I don't have to worry about it. I can just be free from it. And this is where peace, freedom actually comes from, is the ability to give it to the universe, God, whatever. Like I can't, at this point, I can't say universe for me personally, because I have a good relationship. I figured out that religion is bullshit and God is good, but I still like religion in its own way. I just don't listen to the people. I have a relationship with the universe, God level. And so that's the healing part. That's the part where I don't need to worry. That's the part where I continue to work on it, so that if my mind is in negativity, poverty, um, shit, I still ask, like, I need you to deal with this, because addictions are addictions, right? Like, trying to fight an addiction alone is it's challenging. You got to start changing your mind to go over here, whether it's alcohol, smoking, porn, whatever. Addictions are addictions. They will, once you've kind of gone there, they're always going to be there. It's energy within you. So having something that is a superior, higher power over all of it, and that's rather than poverty, prosperity, right? Same concept. You exist inside of that, and continue to go there and continue to ask, keep me out of there, keep me over here, assessing and going back and forth. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
I'm sure I could continue going on with it. But because it's like Christmas, right? I'm going to bring this up too. The around the concept of God or Jesus or whatever, there's this great TV series that seems weird to get into, but it's called The Chosen. And I kind of like watched a little bit, and I just wasn't into it until I went to the beginning, the first one, and actually kind of watched one, and then the second one, and then after that, I was like, okay, I'm in. Like, I'm gonna watch this because it gives a different perspective, and then you begin to realize how normal life was, and it's not what it gets presented as church, and you get to begin to realize that, when Jesus came, he didn't come to the preacher. He didn't come to the leader of the church. He didn't come to the prophet. He didn't. He came to the worker, to the farmer, to the housewife, right? He came to the low, right? He didn't come up here. And so if you feel like there's this disconnect between you and God or church or the conversation around it, you might want to realize that that's not actually how it worked. He didn't go to the Pharisees, the proper people, because it was like, well, that's what they expected. They think, oh, well, he must be a king and he must be that and everything else. It's like, no, no. He came to the people that would be the most humble, that weren't doing it for them, and would change their ways and do it for God's will or something bigger than them. And so I would suggest kind of watching that and looking at it, because most of the prophets in the Bible were actually like the most messed up people ever. So if you think there's a problem with you, between you and the conversation of God, there's not. Stop listening to church, whatever. Church is for the sinners anyway. So just relax about that whole thing, understanding that it is not as it seems. Yeah, your eyes will deceive you, your ears will deceive you. One thing to remember is, if it feels like love, it's from him. And that's the part to really remember. When it feels like peace, it's from him. And we have a great gift going into Christmas to remember what was done for us, and that we can find pure peace, pure love, and pure faith, and just freedom from all the weight, all the worries, and all the crazy stuff, to move into prosperity in all levels of life, whether it's physical, spiritual, financial, or relational. It's all there to be had. And as the book talks about, and as man thinketh, move, put in your subconscious mind the greater programming that says, this is what we want. I know you're worried, but this is where we want to go. That is 100% inside your control. Nobody else is taking that from you, and no one can take it from you. So you put in your mind what you want, the outcome you want to have. You address the worries that you have. You let yourself feel the feelings of all, because they are all good. No feeling is bad. And experience a fantastic life.
We should end there. That was so good.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
who are you?
Come join us. Come join us in the membership. Get some one-on-one. There's some cool stuff that happens there. Like last week's call was just kind of off the cuff, went deep with somebody that really needed to be heard on a different level. And it was a spiritual healing moment for them, for me, for everybody on the call. It was I can't explain it. There's no words. But what we're looking for is more people that want that type of thing, a greater community, to bring more energy in. And this goes for women, it goes for men. There's women only projects or courses and calls happening. There are men only calls happening that are more, men like. And so come join us, bring it. Let's have some changes, some better life. Just enjoy it and progress.
Truly, truly a community of people who want more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And willing to take the responsibility and go get it.
Yeah.
Because that's what everybody's doing right now. The people that show up are just taking the steps. Relationships are happening, money's coming in, finding like everything is just getting better. Doesn't mean there's not ups and downs, but from somebody that came in here and you ask them where they're at, they could just give you a list of what they're grateful for.
Well, sometimes it's easier to go through the downs when you are surrounded by people who have already come out on the other side.
Yeah, and then you realize they're not even a down. Kind of like what we started talking about, where it looked like it was disaster, but it was exactly what needed to happen.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh.
Makes it easier to go through because as you're going through the hard times, you can just say to yourself, like, how is this happening for me?
Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, it didn't feel like it was perfect, but I can see it now. And it actually was perfect because it put me exactly where I said before I wanted to go.
And trust is the opposite of worry.
Yeah.
So, all right.
All right. We'll see you guys. See you next week, or we'll see you in the membership.
Yay. Bye.